Thank you very much, Dietrich. I will try to share my screen and I hope that everything is perfectly working. Dietrich, do you see my screen in a perfect way?
I'm going to check. Yes, I see it.
First of all, I'm going to begin to introduce myself. My name is Frédéric and I'm the CEO and founder of ROOV, a fintech company that I founded 3 years ago. And the reason why I founded this is because in my personal environment, I had a lot of problems with my personal administration. And what did I saw? I have also another company. And in my company, I had an accountant who did everything for me. He was like the goalkeeper of my team, of my company. But in my personal atmosphere, I had nothing. I had a cupboard full of information, invoices, and everything else. But there was nobody who helps me in a very easy way to manage my own personal administration. So we started talking with several people and said, why shouldn't we make an application that is available for the B2C, so for the consumer market? Because what we saw is that there are a lot of possibilities for the professional market. You have a lot of tools for that, but for the individuals, you don't have a lot. So we started with ROOV. I will tell you how the name started. But in fact, what do? We are the digital accountant for the individuals with the idea that we want to save money for you. If you want to check our website, www.roov.app, and I will explain the name later on. Thank you also, Dietrich, for the introduction. I should tell you also, this is the first time I'm talking about data in my company, so it is quite exciting for me. But data in my company is very important, and data is everywhere in what I did in my business model. And it is working at the whole time, even at night, we are using our data to help our customers and to perform even better. But first, I should start with an introduction of ROOV. The name of the company is ROOV, but it has kind of symbolism. It starts with what you do in a personal administration environment. For starters, you start with organizing all your documents and your information, your invoices, something like that. After that, you need something to visualize. What did you exactly did with your collecting of data? The third thing was retrace. How can you retrace all the data you put in your archive or everything you're collecting? And the last thing was optimize. But what do you see if you take the first steps? You see OVRO, so it's OVRO. That was not quite a good name, so we changed it to ROOV. ROOV with an F is like something above on your house, like roof. But in fact, there is another story to it, because ROOV is our commercial name, and the company real name is called Ogias. And maybe some of you know the Greek myth about Ogias. And it is a Greek myth that Hercules had one day to clean the stables of 30,000 cows, and he had one day to do it. But the stable was never been cleaned for 30 years, and it seemed to be like an impossible task. And what did he do? He started on his job, but instead of starting cleaning, he started with changing the riverbed that was next to the stables. And the water made the whole stable clean without doing a lot of effort. He just changed the way the riverbed flew, and how should I say it? The stable went completely clean. So, and this is the same thing that we wanted to do with ROOV, and ROOV is doing the same thing. We are using a different kind of stream to clean up your mess in your personal finance atmosphere, with the whole idea of creating clarity, control, insights, and even optimization possibilities without doing a lot of effort. And that is the whole business idea that we wanted to do. You want to collect all your data, and the data is working for you and is performing in a way that it helps you in every manner of your personal finance atmosphere. Just like what a book accountant is doing for you, is what ROOV is doing for you. So in fact, ROOV is your Hercules, but yeah, we changed the name. Ogias was the company name. We changed it to ROOV because it was a little bit more commercial. But this is how the reason how we founded it was the idea of it. Okay, but when you start a fintech company, one of the things that we thought was very important is what are our values? What do we stand for? What is important? And especially when you're talking about data. Everybody knows data is very protected. But for us, it is even more protected because we're a fintech company and we are gathering data of people, of their personal finance. And one of our core values was we want to keep the privacy of our data, of the users. We do not sell your data to anybody else. You're perfectly 100% in control of your data, and you decide what happens with your data. The second value that we wanted to do, because a B2C environment is totally different than a B2B environment, is that we want to make with minimal effort to give you maximal return. And this is my experience from several years in the past, also with my other company. Most of the people are lazy. And if you want to make your app or your tool working, you should give as much advantage for them without they have to do the work. So this was a second principle that was very important for us. And the third one is save money, because why should people use your application? What is the main driver that they use your application and they keep on using it? And for us, that was saving money. We want to become the app that saves the most money of all the apps that you're going to use. And I'm glad to see that one of my investors is also in the chat. But he can confirm that he saved 1,500 euros just in one day with using our application. I will explain you later how he did it. And the fourth thing, and this is in the new digital era, and especially in B2C products, is that we looked into the mobile first principle. We strongly believe that the mobile phone is getting more and more important, and we also see it in our user base. I think almost 85% of all our users are mobile. So we only have 15% who's using their desktop or tablet, which is not so much. But we kept it in mind by designing our app and everything else. What I should tell also is the privacy of data. The 19th of January, we got our PSD2 license, which means we could extract data from all your banks with your approval. And we also regulated by the National Bank of Belgium. What does it mean? This was one of the most heavy procedures I ever did in my career. It took almost 2 years' time just to get the approval of the National Bank of Belgium. But it's like a certificate. They control your environment. They know everything about your product, how your data is stored, how you work with your data, how is the privacy of your company. And every 3 months, we get an audit of how we store our data and how we will use it. So these were the 4 core values for us, where we thought these are very important for the next steps that we are going to do. Dietrich asked to tell you a little bit about the technical details of IT. I should tell you, this is not my knowledge, but I try to explain you a little bit how we did it. This is the part this is the front end part, and I'll show you a little bit of the architecture, and we have several things to protect our data and the privacy of the user. First of all, you see the entrance with the number 1, the user entry with a load balancer. So you can have at least 10,000, 20,000 users at the same time that can use our application without any problem. The second entry is our admin entry. That is the entry for the IT engineers and my team self. There is a separate entry between the users and my ITers because of what the possibility to enter in our data, in our store, in everything what we are doing. Which was also important, is how did we set up our total environment? And this was quite important and was a question from the National Bank of Belgium. All our data should be managed in Belgium. We could not set up servers in America or somewhere else. No, they should stay here in Belgium. That was one of the questions of the National Bank of Belgium. So we did a setup of with Combel. And for the IT guys amongst you, that will be more clear than for you than for me. But we started with a Kubernetes cluster that has workers to process all our functions like that to really work very fast. The second thing is the Elastic cluster, where we extract the data from the database. The database themselves is a MongoDB cluster, and it is, I think we have 3 or 4 MongoDB places. And the fourth thing is our storage, our persistent network storage. What does that mean? For example, we are extracting invoices, documents. We store it in our 3.4 or percent or network storage. We extract the invoice. For example, the due date of an invoice or the amount of the invoice, and we extract it to the MongoDB, where we store it in a good and accurate way. And the fifth thing we do is a GitLab, where the location of the code is with a development branch, a release branch, and a master branch. Why do we do that? Because when we are developing, we should test, and everything is developed. We put it in a release branch where we test everything. And if everything is perfectly in order, then we release it to the master branch and is it live. And even that, we have a separate pre-prod cluster. For the people who know about that, you can ask me questions about it. I will send it to my IT guy, because myself, I do not know really a lot about it. But this is the main architecture that we set up, and the version that people can see. But let's tell me some more how our application works. But what do we do with the data? And one of the things that was very important for us, what is administration? And we thought there are only 5 steps of administration to get a full circle, an integrated circle of administration. And the first step is archive. How do you get all your documents in a safe way in a cloud? And we did, I think 3 years ago, an IMAX survey, and we asked about 400 or 500 people, how many documents do you store yourself? And what was very disturbing for me is that a lot of people are getting their emails, they print out their invoices by email, they print it out, they pay it, and then they put it back in a cupboard and they never look at it again. Meanwhile, in every invoice, there is a ton of data that is quite important and usable data to do something later on. But what do you collect? You collect invoices, warranties, certificates, loan agreements, deeds of a house you're buying. You have a ton of data that you're collecting, and 90% of the people just are throwing it away. And we said, no, first of all, start with archiving all your data that you're collecting, every invoice, every deed, every document that you're collecting. Just put it in our archive in a very simple way. How did we do it? First of all, you have 4 ways to insert all your documents and right into our system. The first one is take just a picture with your application, and there is a scanner in that, and he extracts everything in the document and it goes back in the archive. The second one is, because a lot of people receive invoices and documents through email, we generate a secured email address that connects from your ROOV account to your individual email account, and you just can send emails with the documents included from your own email account into your ROOV email account. Then we store it in a right and correct manner, but very easy. The third thing, and I think that was quite important also for us, is we only have 15% of the people who are using our application by desktop, but it's just drag and drop. You open our program or application on your desktop, you have a document on your computer, and you just drag it and drop it on the system, and it starts processing. I will later tell you how we are doing it. And the last thing was scan. Just scan your document, and it will get right into the application. But what do we think? You get on a daily basis a lot of information. And I really believe that in every document that you're doing, even in a payment that you're seeing later on, there is a lot of value, high value, but you have to extract it and later on do something with the data that is in your personal finance atmosphere. And this was quite a challenge. Why? Because we started, how can we extract relevant data into your own database in a good manner? And we checked out several programs that could help us, but the accuracy of the data was not high enough. We used a platform, and I think it was between 60 and 70% accuracy of the relevant fields that we needed. And I talked to some very smart guys, and they said to me, let's try to do it ourselves. And I said, yes, but how much will it cost? This is always the big question for an entrepreneur. What did it cost? And they gave me an amount which was quite high, and I could not afford. What did I do? I went to Vlaing, which is the subsidy system in Belgium. I said, I have a new idea to extract data in a relevant manner that is very important for my business model. But we want to do it ourselves with Belgian people here doing it. We got a subsidy of almost 300,000 euros just to make our extraction model. And we now have an accuracy of 95% of all essential fields that we now need at the moment. But what is also important, and this is a problem that happened a week ago. A week ago, we started integrating all the banks in our application. And we thought it would be logic, the amount of the payment would be there, the date. But the banks were smart enough, or not smart enough, just to give one structured, how to say, immediately, I can say it in English, but one structured message with all the data included. So we have to extract it ourselves. So lucky for us, I had the right people in my team. And after, I think, 3 or 4 days, we got a whole system that extracted all the relevant information also from the bank implementations. What was also important, it took us 2 years to build it. I thought it would go faster, like many of the entrepreneurs like me, but IT is not fast, it has to be good. So it took 2 years of time. It has every month an update of our currency and how to adapt it and to change it and to make it better. And a third thing that came up when we are starting to use it was our language issues. And we all changed it, adapt it in a manner that now everything works in, I think, in Dutch, in French, and in English in the way it should go. But data for an individual in his personal atmosphere is everywhere. The only thing you should know is, what will you do? Do you want to do something with it? And I will tell you now what we did with that. The second thing, you have your archive of all your documentation and your invoices like that. But the second thing is, if you have invoices, you also need to pay it. And 2 years ago, we started with, okay, PSD2 is a new thing in Fintech. How can we extract all the information from the banks in a good manner? And this was the hardest struggle, but what do we extract from a bank? We have payments, but we also have cash transactions. You have monthly subscriptions, automatic orders. And we said, yeah, okay, we want to integrate all that relevant information. And I'm proud to say, but at the 9th of March, we are fully releasing, I think, 26 banks that we are connected to in Belgium. But you have the possibility to integrate all that 26 banks and to get an overview in one account on your ROOV platform. But why did we do it also? And this was quite essential. We saw that almost 30% of young people miss a due date of an invoice. And this could never happen with us, because when you're sending an invoice to us, we see that the due date of your invoice is the 15th of March, for example. And at the 13th of March, we see that there is still no payment of that kind of invoice. So we're going to proactively notify you to say, look, this needs to be paid. Do you want to pay? Yes or no? So you already have the possibility of not missing a payment. And that happens a lot when people miss payments. You have to pay some extra interest on it. So this was the first thing. The second thing is, connect your payments with your invoices, that you know what a bookkeeper of account is doing the same thing. Did you pay the invoice? Yes, you click it away and it is off your sheet. We are doing the same thing. And the third thing is, yeah, you have a lot of banks who are doing something similar, but what do you do with cash payments? And with our application, you don't have any problem. You just insert, I did a cash payment, and it gets automatically in all your ROOV fields that you will see later on. But two things were important: the archive, but then also the payments. But after the payments, you have the information. You have the information of the banks. You should know your insights. And this was really tricky because we are a mobile-first company. How much can you show in one screen that it stays relevant for the user? And we tried to categorize everything. But what was really important for us, first of all, you want to see in what category you are spending a lot or not. For example, if you have a hobby, cycling, do you want to know how much your hobby is costing on a yearly basis or not? Do you want to know how much you're spending on your restaurant bills? Not at the moment, because of COVID, it is not possible. But do you know how much it is? Do you know how much you're spending on a yearly basis on your electricity? Do you know how much you're spending on everything you think, you just insert a personal category like you're doing on your Excel. You do it in our application. And then a thing that was also important for us, and especially for young people, is, and they have a lot of problems with that, they are spending sometimes more than there is income. And we have a balance checker on our application that notifies you when you're overspending on behalf of your income. And I think it is very valuable for people to know what they are doing and to get notified when problems are ahead. And I'm lucky that I do not have the problems at the moment, but there are a lot of families that do have that problems, and it would be nice if you get notified upfront. Also, an extra thing that was important for us, because we gather all the data, all your payments, we compare it with what you did last year. And one of the expensive categories in Belgium is that you have to pay on a yearly basis your land fee. It is called in Belgium kadastraal inkomen. It means you have to pay on a yearly basis a tax because you own a house. But it could be quite expensive. It could be from 500 euros to 2,000 euros. And what we are doing, we are notifying you upfront when the big months are coming up. For example, for me, that's the month of September, because I bought my house in September. My insurance of my house is coming in September. My yearly fee taxes of my house is the month of September, and it's quite expensive for me. So it is quite interesting to get notified 3 or 4 months ahead, to start a little bit of saving on the side. So September for me is not that heavy as I thought it would be. And knowledge is key. If you know how your evolution of spending is, you can start helping yourself. And I will explain this in the next thing that we did. We say we archive, we gather all your data, we give insights, but what do you do with all that data? And this was not a struggle, but it was an idea that we thought about very long. Why should people use our application? Just for an archive? No, then you have Google Cloud or other possibilities. To integrate all your bank accounts? No, you have already other people that are doing that, not a lot in Belgium. Getting insights? Also banks are doing that. But what if you combine all that data and you get the possibility to optimize your expenses without doing any effort? And I will explain myself. We have invoice data, payment data, personal data. And we have 2 ways to get you notified where you can have an optimization. The first one is on every invoice. There is on the bottom, do you want to optimize? Yes, I will explain later on. The second one, and this is a very big data story for us, is a peer-to-peer analysis. What did we do? We compare your situation with somebody else in the same situation, with the same consumption of energy, or maybe somebody who has the same car of like yourself. And we say, for example, for the car insurance, you are in the top 20% for that type of car and that type of age of car, and you're in the top 20 of the most expensive car insurance. Do you like to optimize or not? And this is one of the most important things for me. You can say yes, I would like to optimize. We have your user data, but you see in the arrow here below, we transform all that data and we send it, and this is important, anonymously to energy companies, to telco companies, insurance companies, completely anonymously. So they have to give you the best offer they have without knowing who you are. On the bottom, you see the line that goes back to the user of ROOV, and within 5 to 10 seconds, you get the 5 or 6 best offers in market without doing any effort. And then it's up to you. Or you say ignore, 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 and nothing happens. Or you say, yes, I like to optimize to the new car insurance or to new energy company for my new energy bill. So you are 100% in charge of your own data. We don't sell it to you. We ask, can we send it to somebody anonymously? And after we say yes, we exchange the names of who you are, and then the contract comes together with the insurance company, which was very important for us. Privacy of data. We do not sell your data to somebody else. We keep it with us, and you are 100% in control of your data. I will give you an extra explanation how secure our data is. I'm myself the CEO of the company, and my wife and me, we are having 2 separate accounts. And I, in no way I can see what my wife is doing on the second account, because it is encrypted in a double way, and we need 2 keys just to open the lock of my wife's ROOV account. So privacy of data was the main driver for us. Secondly, it is what you do with the data and how you will make the user get benefits from it. In the meanwhile, we also benefit a little bit from the what we are doing here, but it is so small that the users of ROOV are the people who win the most. And Nick will definitely say that's true. He saved 1,500 euros just on his energy contracts, just by 3 clicks, and everything was in order. And these 3 are just the beginning, because we are going to do in the future much more things just to help you analyze your data and to make it better for you. So we have the 4 steps. The last step is actually pay. We do not have the license of payment at the moment itself. We hope to get it at the end of December, because this is the second phase of our PSD2 license. Now we have the account information where we can extract all your data. But the second phase of our banking license will be, you have your invoice of Google. You didn't pay yet. You get a warning from us, and you can actually pay within the second with our application ourselves. So it's not changing the way of what you're doing with payment with your banks. We are just 1 step ahead, because your bank doesn't know when the due date of an invoice is. We know when it is. So we initiate the payment of the invoice if you agree to do the payment itself. So the circle of personal administration, it starts with uploading all your data, and it is immense, the data that we are collecting. Secondly is our archive. It should be secured. It should be in a safe place, storage, and nobody can get into your data. The analytic tools to get you insights, the optimization of your expenses, and in the end, the payment with our ROOV account. But this is for us the whole circle of administration for an individual. And if anyone that is following knows something else, please let me know, because I want to have a perfect circle of one app to do everything that is concerning your personal finance. This is for me the main driver. Even if you have paid your invoice, 1 month later or 2 months later, there is again a new invoice, maybe with new data again, that maybe is important, where we can renew. Secondly, start with optimizing the expenses. So it never stops. The data never stops working. It gives you information about 2 years ago, what you did with your energy. It gives you evolutions just to get you insights and to save yourself some money. What were the lessons learned for me personally? And data is big and huge, but the first thing that I wanted to know is, what is my business model, and who is willing to pay for what I'm doing? And we did a lot of testing, and we did a survey for that. With what we are doing, are people willing to pay just to collect their data? Are companies willing to pay a lead fee, for a converted lead fee for an energy contract? And who benefits from the data? And especially when you're in a B2C environment, the main beneficiary should be the user of your application. Secondly, in our business model, and this was also a challenge, is how difficult is it to extract all your relevant data? You can have a fantastic business model. You know that people want to pay for it, but how difficult is it to extract it? That was a key driver for us. We really thought it well, and this was our solution. Secondly, our data structure. There are people who are falling, but how will you extract the relevant information? But how will you store it in a way that you can extract it very easily and combine separate kind of data into one business model? And also, we did a basic setup, I think 2 years ago. Lucky for us, our setup was quite good to adapt very rapidly into the new business models that we were developing. So also be ready what you're doing, know all your challenges at the moment, but also know that there will be challenges that are not ahead, that you don't know at the moment itself. Thirdly, data storage costs money. It costs money to store your data, but even more, it costs money to get the best people to set up your whole environment, to train your models, to extract your information. And the thing I did, I paid a lot for my data scientists, for my machine learning engineers, and they are worth it, because for me, the data is key in my business model. If I don't have any data, I don't have any business model. And I said, I need the best guy to do this for me. And it was quite expensive, but the value was perfect. He is the right guy for what we did. So this is a short presentation of what we are doing with our data in a B2C environment in a fintech. But there are a lot of other companies who are doing it in a different way. But this is how we saw it, and like how we are running our company at the moment.